Monday's live stream kind of Q&A, answering some of your art business questions. Now, I'm broadcasting this, hopefully, hopefully the tech's working, onto YouTube. So shout out to everyone who's watching on YouTube, and also into my Facebook group, and shout out for those of you in the Business for Artists Facebook group as well. Now, as we get started out, I would really love somebody just to let me know that you can see and hear me okay, because otherwise you chat along to yourself. I'm not sure if I've connected everything properly. So just let me know, if my earrings are dangling against that and it's annoying you. If it's making a noise, or if you can't hear, please just type something in the chat so that I know straight away and can get that sorted. So today I have a lot of questions that were submitted for this Q&A. All good, Wendy. Thank you so much, Wendy, who was struggling with the time zones. You're here. That's so exciting. So yeah, I asked out, I'm going to shout out for questions. What were the main challenges? What were the things you'd like me to talk about? And from that quite enormous list, I've pulled down, I think, 9 questions that I'm going to attempt to answer in this session today. So if yours is not one of the questions that I've answered, just give me a reminder, or just bear with me. I'd love to do this on a regular basis, actually. So I've kind of picked questions I think appeal to a lot of people. I'm going to cover off some core topics I know a lot of you are really struggling with. So like I say, I know I can't answer all of them, so apologies ahead of time, but I'm definitely going to be answering as many as possible. I can see and hear you from northern Minnesota. Hello, Ramona. Welcome. That's always good that it's going across the airwaves, isn't it? Thank you to technology. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that it all hangs together. So we're going to be talking about things like, should we be selling our art online or offline? How do we actually get people to go to our website and look at what we're selling, let alone turn it into sales? We're going to be talking about pricing, about email list, about that customer, because I know that's coming up again and again and again. And we're going to be talking about, at the very end, I've got a really juicy question actually right at the end. I'm not going to tell you about that right now, but somebody asked it and I thought, actually, I think that comes up for so many of us, and it's about our art. So I'm going to save that to the end, because I think it's going to be a really, really good one after some of the more techie kind of marketing-y type questions. So some of you might want to know how long this stream is going to go on for. I normally aim for an hour. I kind of don't want to take up more time than that. If there's a question coming at the end, or we have a conversation going, then it might go a bit longer, but my aim is to kind of keep it in that sort of time frame. Greetings from Houston. Hello, welcome from Houston. Yeah, do give a shout out. And listen, as we go through this, I'm going to be giving you a lot of information. So I'm going to suggest that you have either the old-fashioned pen and paper, or if you're great at typing, I've got my iPod with questions and notes on in front of me, an iPad, or even take some notes on your phone, so that you have something to walk away with. I'm also going to suggest that you really listen out for what's appropriate for you, because we're all at different stages. You'll all be at different stages. Like I said, I'm going to give you a lot of information, and of course this is going to hang out here on YouTube. It's going to stay in the Facebook group, so you'll be able to listen to it over and over again. If you hear something you think, well, that's particularly pertinent to me, I need to do that. But I'm going to really suggest, as we kind of get towards the end, you think about, what was the key takeaway for me today? What's something that I can take away from this live stream and actually take action on in my art business? And I'm going to remind you of that at the very, very end. And if for any reason I forget, please somebody remind me in the chat. Will you hold me to that? And make sure that we keep going again, ask questions as we go along, chat in the comments as well, chat to each other if you need to. Let's get this thing nicely interactive. So hopefully everybody's got a cup of something to drink. Hi, everyone from Maryland. Hello from WA. Awesome. Amazing. I think the people that come in from, no, that's okay. Some people come in with a name. Some people don't. I don't know. That's the tech for you. All right, let's start with Wendy's question actually at the very beginning, because I thought this was quite a good one to kick off with. So Wendy says, I'm switching back and forth from wanting to sell my art online and not wanting to. It's driving me crazy. She says she's been trying, and she says in brackets, obviously the wrong way, since 2017. Can anyone else relate that they've been trying, they've been doing different things, it's been going on year in, year out, then you're not quite getting the results that you want to get. So if that's you, just sort of type something in the chat and say, yeah, that's also me. I've been going at this a while and not getting where I want to go. I've sold 2 paintings on Blue Thumb in all that time. All right. And she says both in the last year. I've got a website, etc., etc. So really, I think the question there for me is, are we selling it online or offline? Because these two things are very, very different. And Wendy, I assumed that was the kind of question that you were asking. There's a part 2 to this question that we're going to come to in a minute. How does an artist who isn't pushy and not keen on showing up visually online go about selling a bit of art? So there's a bit of an awkward situation, isn't there? Because if you want to sell online, Christine says, that's me. If you want to sell online, I'm going to tell you, you need to show up, because nobody really knows who you are. In order to build that trust and connection with the audience, and we're going to come to that bit later on, you're going to have to show up. It's quite difficult these days not to have your face out there one way or the other. So I'm going to throw something in here, Wendy, and I'm going to suggest that perhaps you do make a decision and you say, do you know what, I'm not going to sell online, I'm going to sell offline. So here's kind of my thoughts on that. I think number one is, when we're going to and fro, we just need to make a decision and stick with it. Both online and offline have their pros and cons, right? If you sell online, you're going to have to get the hang of some tech. You're going to have to show up, unfortunately. You're going to have to probably spend more time on these kind of items than perhaps you would like to. But the flip side is that once you've got things working, you can wake up in the morning and see some sales happening. All right. And I often give the example of a friend of mine who actually, she's a leather handbag maker. And she's a very close friend of mine. I've just spent a weekend with three arty friends, and she was included. And she would groan every time her phone would go ping. It was another sale, another order, another order, another order. And we all just laughed, because I just said, wouldn't you all just love that phone going ding, 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 ding like that? She's got it all automated, all right? And it's working. One thing, one platform, a system, and it's all working. Did it happen overnight, folks? No, it didn't. All right, I'll probably tell you bits about her story as we go along. I'm sure she won't mind. I did mention, I said, I'll probably use you as an example, because really she's done so many things that are right. She's kept it very, very simple. And she is online. And you might say she doesn't really show up too much visually either. So that's food for thought. So offline, however, can be easier. And I hear you, Wendy, you don't want to be making a big full-time business either. So sometimes building your business offline can seem simpler. You find some galleries or shops, boutiques, etc., locally that will stock your art, and you don't need to do the social media or show up, because they're going to sell it for you. So you might, for example, when I was selling art back in the UK, I got an agent. So I didn't have to do any of that. I did at the beginning, but essentially in the end, I just drove my work to different galleries and to her house, and she went off and sold it for me. So if you're somebody who says, I really don't want to show up online, I don't want to do social media, I don't want to do any of those things, then selling online is probably not going to be for you. Therefore, you want to choose an offline strategy, finding a place that will take your art and finding somebody that will do the work for you and sell it for you. Does that make sense? And am I answering the question correctly as well? That's important. Oh, look, Tracy and Wendy have made buddies, I think, artist buddies. So that's nice. Does that make sense? And Wendy, have I answered that correctly? Was that the question you were asking? Because I kind of was like, it seems like it's an online, offline. For me, the number one thing for everyone to take away when you have a dilemma like this is there's no right or wrong, right? You just want to choose one of them and stick with it and just keep going down that route. Because the moment we start thinking, oh, maybe I'll do a bit of this or I'll do a bit of that, I'll do a little bit of online, it can be very disappointing, because if you're not all in and you're not doing that online thing with all your heart and soul, then you won't get the results. And so for me, I think just make a decision. You're going to focus offline or online. Offline has its limitations, perhaps geographically. Maybe, your customers, they've got to drive to the gallery. So you've only got customers within a certain kind of location. So it's going to depend where you live. But then I want to give you an example of a client of mine actually who lives in the UK in a really rural part of Wales. She's miles from anywhere, but she sells predominantly from her studio. People drive the distance to go and get one of her works. So I feel like when you do just put your commitment into one way or the other way, then it's clearer. You haven't got the stress of, oh God, what am I going to do? It's now like, let's just follow the strategy. Offline, yes, that's it. I think, then you don't have to stress about it. Just make the decision, stop looking at online. You don't have to worry about showing up visually, Wendy. You don't have to worry about all of that stuff. Then you have to find somebody who's proactive about selling your art. So not a gallery that's going to say, yep, thank you, and then you're waiting there for the sales, but a gallery's like, yeah, this is how I'm going to promote. We have regular open evenings. We have a list of people that are likely going to want to buy your art specifically. A gallery that goes and takes work to local shows or art fairs, someone who's going to be proactive for you. And also not more than one gallery, not putting all your eggs in one basket. So I used to drive to London, and then over to the East Coast, and then down to the South Coast. So I drive my art into different areas, into different galleries. So you might have to be prepared to do that. So great. Wendy's got a decision. Anyone else thinking, I don't want to do the online thing either. I quite like to work offline. So let us know in the chat if you're thinking, maybe I'm going to sell offline rather than online. It's a different strategy. And someone's going to ask me, well, can't we do both, Sophie? Of course you can do both. However, I'm feeling like right now, if you're at the beginning, and who here feels like they're at the beginning, even if they've been doing it for a while, at the beginning means you're not making a living from your art yet. So therefore, if you're at the beginning, choose one way first. Like if you choose offline first and get that established, it's quite easy to add some online to it. If you get established online first, it's quite easy to say, oh, by the way, everybody, I've actually got a physical show for anyone in the area over here. So setting one of those up first is going to be really good for you. Yes, here. Hello, here. Do you mean here, physical? You're going to do physical stuff. So yeah, just think about which way is going to work better for you, because doing the two things together, folks, is hard work because you're not really focusing on one or the other, right? You're not really focusing on one or the other. You're doing kind of like one half-hearted and the other half-hearted. When he says, I'd like to do both though, I'm not just starting. Yeah, cool. Well, then start, think about one to focus on for now and get that going. So in my, I think I've got maybe a couple of members on this call. Some of you may or may not know that I have a membership for artists, and I'm always telling the story in the membership of the rowing boats. And so everyone knows my little analogy of the rowing boats. So let me quickly tell you that, because it really, really, really is pertinent, I think, at this point. So imagine there are two islands. There's one island where you are now, and that's Reality Island. That's where you are now. And then there is Dream Island, where you want to go. And in my picture, Dream Island has palm trees and it has nice lounges by the beach. Whatever it is for you, there's Reality Island, where you are now, and Dream Island. And you want to get yourself to Dream Island with your art business. So imagine now that you say, okay, I'm going to start selling original art. So that's your first boat, if you like. So what you really want to do is you want to do everything you possibly can towards selling that original art, rowing that particular original art boat right the way over to the island. Because if you keep going until you've got to Success Island, it's like, okay, that's working. Now I can look at developing something else. But here's what people typically do. I'm going to sell original art. So this is boat number one. I'm going to start working on that. So I row a little bit, but I'm not making the sales I want. So I'm going to start working on some prints, right? And I'm going to put prints up on my online shop. So this is boat number two. So now we start rowing boat number two over towards Dream Island, getting the prints. Well, they're not really working either. Somebody said it's great if I do workshops. Why don't I just do that? Because it's easy income. So now I've got boat number three, and I'm starting to row boat number three, and I'm sort of got the workshops going over here. So imagine if the moment you've only got a couple of legs, right? There's no way you can row three boats at once. Where are you going to end up? In the water. So what we want to be doing is we want to choose one of the boats, one of the avenues to the income, and row it all the way over to Dream Island until you've got it working. And then you come back and go, okay, so that's working. Well, I'll leave that working. Now I'll set up the next income stream and I'll keep doing what I need to do to that until I get that to Success Island, Dream Island, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll start again. Does that make sense? So often when people will say to me, I'm rowing my first boat. And I know what they mean by that. It's virtually impossible to do all of those things at the same time, all right, unless you are superhuman or you have an enormous budget for ads or you can pay someone else to do your marketing. It's just the reality. As creative businesses, we are spending a lot of time creating what we're going to be selling, right? We're either making or we're delivering if we run workshops or teaching, etc. Yes. And so therefore a huge amount of our time is taken up with making product or service, as we call it. In a regular business, right? They've got the product. All they need to do is put all their energy and effort into selling. But we're then left with a smaller chunk of time, likely, to market and sell. And to do that for multiple items is going to be really difficult. All right. So make life simple. Choose one thing, start with that, get it working, go back and start again. All right. That's a very kind of big answer to those questions. I hope that answers the question. So that's the answer. How do you sell it online without being pushy? It's difficult to sell online without being visually there, because people like what they want to see, the person behind the art. Who is that person, right? Who is that person who's doing it? And that's not to say that you need to be out there every day going, hey, I've got art for sale. It's not about that at all. We're going to talk about that as we continue on through. Okay, so let's have a look at our second question. So, well, in fact, third question. Right. How long do you keep going with this kind of rowing? How long do you keep going with the business before you give up? Who asked that question? So that was Tracy. She's like, okay, bit dilemma. How long do we keep trying? I just saw something somewhere saying we can't know the answers or results of all our actions ahead of time. So if we stop, we'll never know. This is true. But when do we know we haven't succeeded and it's time to stop? So for me, the time to stop is when you get there. The analogy that you've probably heard, and I think I just told it again the other day, actually, it's like the dwarves in the cave, right? And they're chipping away, looking for the gold. The gold is in here somewhere. If I keep chipping away, I've been in here for weeks in this kind of mine, this cave. I'm looking for the gold. I know it's in here somewhere, or I think it's in here somewhere. And after a few weeks, they're exhausted. They put down their tools and they go, forget it. What they didn't know is they are like a few millimeters away from the biggest gold seam ever. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's if you're doing what you love, you keep going and you stop when you succeed. And the journey to successful any type of business, however that looks for you, is a bumpy road. And that's just a fact. It's not like this beautiful, gleaming, shiny, when you see on Instagram, I got these great results. I didn't get those yesterday. There was a bumpy road. So you do a little bit of growth, then you plateau, things kind of stagnate, then you maybe have a dip. You're like, oh, that's a learning opportunity, need to change things up. And then you have another growth spurt, then you go up, you find something that's working, you keep going, you plateau again. And so it goes on, all right? It's not this shiny, nice path to success that goes up like that. All right, it's not your motorboat that you can turn up the engine and go, there we are on Dream Island. It's going to take work. It's going to take commitment. And for me, the only time you stop is if you're doing something that you don't love. All right. If you're making something that you are making because you think it's going to sell better, and over here is the thing that you really want to make, you really lights you up, but somebody said to you, don't do that, do this because they're trending right now, or you'll sell more of those. That for me is the time to stop that. If you're not loving what you're doing, then stop. All right. For me, the business thing, and ultimately it's going to be your decision. If financially you get to a place where you're like, I can't continue with this, then, evidently you want to stop. But we don't want to stop a business halfway there. You could be that far away from that big gallery calling you and saying, hey, I'd like 10 pieces of your work. You could be that far away from the biggest commission of your life. You could be that far away from, a magazine contacting you and say, we'd like to slap you all over the cover. Like, you just don't know. So my rules are really simple. Number one, have a really clear vision of where you want to go. Be really, really clear. And I talk about this. There's a lot of videos talking about this on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't watched those, make sure to check those out. If the vision doesn't light you up enough, if it's too small or too insignificant, then you're not going to be excited about it. You don't need to know how you're going to get there, but you need to have it. And then you need a plan to get you started on that journey. And that is a business plan, an artist business plan. And I teach that again and again and again. And I kind of want to give it a new name because I feel like people hear the word business plan and they go, which is what I did, by the way. The very first time, my mentor back in the day, he said to me, you need a business plan. And he gave me, I'm not kidding, a printout of a document like that, slapped it on the desk in front of me, said, come back next week with that done. And I went home and I cried because I looked at this, I didn't understand. There were pie charts in there. There were endless figures. There was all this paragraph of writing. I'm not great with a paragraph, by the way. Anyone else here doesn't get great with a big email or a paragraph? I'm so visual. I find that really challenging. So I didn't want to read it. I didn't understand the pie charts and all the maths in there. And so I felt like I was going to fail before I even got started. And I went back to him and I said, I actually don't understand any of this. And he said, okay, no worries. And he got out a single piece of paper and he went, year 1, year 2, year 3. And I was like, I'll get that. And he drew it out for me. How much money do you want to turn over in these years? And you're not by yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So he made that really simple plan and I got it. And then over the years, obviously now I've got a little course that walks you through, but I've got 7 really simple steps that enable you to create a plan that works for you, right? You've got to work out where you want to go. You've got to decide, well, what am I going to sell? Am I going to sell original art, online courses, workshops? And you keep it simple. We always suggest just 3 products. Start with 1 and add the 2 in after. How are you going to get in front of the ideal customer that we're going to be talking about shortly? Who are the people that are going to buy what you have on offer? How are you going to get in front of them from a marketing perspective? And then how are you going to make the sale? And then of course, how are you going to look after them and look after your money? It's super simple, but it's essential because if you don't have a plan, it's like saying, what did I used to say back in the UK? I'd say, I used to live on the South Coast. So I'd say, it's like wanting to go to Scotland. You're not really sure how to get there. There are multiple ways. And you start out in the car and without a map, before you know, you've gone off to Wales. It's pretty, it's lovely, it's got mountains and sheep and all the nice things. But it's going to take you a really long way to get to Scotland, right? So actually, if you had a road map that said, I need to go here, stop for petrol there, stop for lunch there, a nice view there, more petrol there, here's my route to Scotland. And that's what you need with your art business. The vision. Where do I want to go? Don't need to know how you're going to get there yet, but the vision that lights you up and a simple path of how you're going to get there. This is what I'm going to do. This is kind of the sort of ballpark of time I want to do it in. So it just gives you something to follow. Who here feels like they need a step-by-step thing to follow, right? There's enough, isn't there, making what we do without having to scratch your head and go, oh my God, what do I do? Somebody said, there's so much information out there, it's overwhelming. I absolutely agree. There is a huge amount of information out there, some of it good, some of it not so good, some of it quite confusing, right? And at the end of the day, you've got to find someone that you resonate with and you've got to perhaps tread the path that they've trodden before. But a step-by-step path is something you don't really have to think about, right? You're creating your art, you follow the step-by-step path. So a simple plan gets you there. I like a step-by-step. Jyoti, yes, absolutely. Need that, Wendy says. Absolutely. It's one less thing to have to think about. So a business plan is essential. Now I've got so carried away, I've forgotten what the question is. Yeah, how long do you keep trying? That was the question, wasn't it? Until you get there. Business plan, that's what I want to talk about. And then, that bumpy road. So here's what will happen on the bumpy road. You make the business plan and you start off. And sometimes you can hit that bump, that challenge. You're like, this is not quite working out how I planned. So then we need to step back and go, okay, is there another way I could do this? So to go the roadmap analogy, there's been an accident on the motorway and the motorway's closed, right? And now we need to go, okay, I need to take a way round it. Should I follow the sat nav? Never a good idea, is it? And follow that and go around there. Or should I go away I know to bypass through a nice village and go back on the road again? Right? We have to stop and consider and go, okay, this is not working. I need to find another route to get me back on plan. Maybe I need to do this instead, right? And that's when you try something different. And if that works, it gets you back on the plan. If it doesn't work, again, you step back and go, okay, I've tried that. Let's try this. And by then, hopefully, you should be back onto the road again. All right. I think that's pretty much it. So switching things up is super, super important. All right, time to talk about that ideal client, because I feel like this is a huge, huge part of the problem. You know, there are so many people out there making incredible, stunning, beautiful, original art, prints, designs, patterns, courses, workshops, and they sit there on platforms not selling because of, well, a few things that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but one of which is not knowing who that audience is that wants to buy your thing. All right. So Tracy asks, I'm stuck on my ideal client and email list. We'll come to that in part 2. No clue. I love it. All right. So let's talk about the ideal client. So I have kind of two-pronged attack with this. So the audience sector, who's going to be your audience, is kind of the big picture part. So for example, if you, let's give a really easy example. I've got dogs lying here. So you're a pet portrait painter. So your audience sector is going to be pet lovers, right? You might narrow that down because that is a huge audience. So you paint dogs, like these smelly things down here. So your audience will likely be, or you'll want it to be, dog lovers, all right? That's a section of the whole world. The audience comes down. Now you've got a segment of people who are dog lovers. That's your audience. But from within that audience, there are going to be people who specifically want a painting or a drawing, however you work, and they're going to be more what we call an ideal customer. They are people looking for what you already are creating, right? So your ideal customer. So if you create, for example, I don't know, beautiful line drawings of my lovely Labradors here, and the customer really would love just a simple black and white line drawing, and they're looking for line drawings of Labradors, right? If that's what you do, these people are your ideal customers. Why? Because they are looking already for what you want or what you offer. Okay, does that make sense? Yes, it can be so confusing, not to mention never ending. Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. So you have to start with the big picture first. All right, so if you create abstract landscapes, for example, you're looking for a group of people who are art lovers who appreciate abstract art. All right, so you've gone from the wide audience, everyone. You definitely can't market to everyone, by the way, because you don't have the money or the time to do that. So you want to build it in. So your audience sector kind of will be people who love buying original art and are particularly interested in abstract, right? It's still a really large audience. If you've chosen the physical route, they might be in a different continent to you, right? You're going to have to narrow it down and say within 100 miles of where I live, for example. So in order to get more into this ideal, we need to use a few of these things. Now, some of you might have got my free worksheet. I should have had a link ready to pop in here. I'll pop that underneath here. So that's got several pages where you can fill it out. So yes. So it's over. I'll find it. It's on a couple of videos on YouTube. I'll find it, Tracy, and I'll pop it underneath this video once we've finished. So you can download that and you can fill that in yourself. So you'll start off with thinking about what typical age are they? And again, normally people say to me, oh, they can be any age, Sophie. I know they can, but who's your ideal? Are they people who are, they're bringing up a young family? They are perhaps they haven't got a family, they're single people, or they're couples, or they've brought up their family and now they're in that period of life where they're redecorating their house and they've got a bit more income because the kids have grown up and moved away. Who are those people? What typical age are they? Are they typically men or women or non-gender specific or both or any? Is that relevant? Where are they? Location: local, national, global. If it's global, English-speaking countries, specific continents that you want to target or you think are going to be relevant. Employment. So what typical sort of employment might they have? So now you're going to get in the head of, let's go with the abstract art lover. All right. So I'm an abstract art lover. And what's a typical employment? Like, where do I work? Am I climbing the corporate ladder and I've got a modern house that I want to put modern artwork in? Or am I somebody who's self-employed, right? Got their own business, works from home, really appreciates working in my own home environment. So perhaps, I don't know, perhaps they work in, well, who knows? You're going to guess. It doesn't matter. You choose a sector. You're guessing, right? When you don't know and you don't have customers that appear as ideal, you're making it up. You're profiling the person. So you choose. Income. What sort of income do they have? This is really important, folks, right? Because if you have high priced artwork and you're targeting a sector of the whole that is perhaps not somebody who's got a big amount of income, they're not turning over a large amount of income, or they don't have much disposable income, there's a mismatch, right? So you need to make sure that your target audience has disposable income enough to easily be able to purchase what you offer. If you offer low price point items, it's a bit easier, right? So that you can kind of a bit easier with the income. So you need to work out roughly what income, 100,000, 200,000 a year. What are they turning over? What sort of job? So if they're climbing the corporate ladder, they go and work in a big office somewhere in the city and they're on a large salary, take a number, write it down, okay? Children, they got the children, they're at home, they're bringing them up, they're teenagers, they're beginning to leave home, they've left home. Your decision, right? So if you're doing the Labradors, it could be that you go more for a family because perhaps the dogs belong to the kids or the teenagers, right? So you might be going for somebody who's younger, 30s to 40s. What's their lifestyle? Are they work from home people and they go out a lot? They walk the dogs a lot. They enjoy going, I don't know, to local events. They go to theatre. They go to the movies. They love classical music. I don't know, they like to do outward bounding things. They go on foreign holidays, local holidays. You need to build out the picture of the lifestyle that they live. All right. It's really important because you need to speak to that. If you haven't decided who those people are, you're going to be really struggling with the marketing side. And you're saying general things like, I have this work for sale. It's perfect for a light, bright room. Most people have a light, bright room that's not going to help you, right? Hey, you work from home. Why not have this vibrant, a piece from my new vibrant collection of abstract landscapes, perfect for the background if you're going to be doing that Zoom call with your clients, right? You need to be able to speak to your ideal audience. What else might you want to know? Yeah, hobbies specifically, right? Are they going to art galleries? Do they travel abroad a lot? What do they do? Do they play sports? Are they into fitness? Where do they go? Where do they hang out? What are their spending habits? Are they big spenders? Like they do a lot of shopping every month. Do they shop online or do they prefer to shop local? They're like, I actually really want to support local artists. I'm going to go to an art trail. I'm going to go to a local gallery, or I'm not interested in doing that. I'm going to sit at home. I'm just looking online because it's so much easier. I can click buy and then it gets shipped to me. Your decision, right? You've got to decide and build out the profile of that person. What are their wants and their desires? They want to fill the house with art. They're desperate to have that original piece on the wall to look at every day. What is it going to be for you? So if you download the worksheet, those questions are expanded and you've got a whole empty page at the end where you can write a whole description of like your ideal person's day. They get up, they do what? They fill the day. And you might be saying to me, Sophie, why do I have to do all of that? The more you write, the easier it is to market. The more you understand that how that person lives their day, the easier it is going to be to, if a magazine calls you and say, hey, we'd like to, we've got a double page spread. We'd like to offer you an advertorial. Would you like to write a piece and maybe put, an advert in for your local show? Now, if you know that magazine is going to be delivered in the area where your customers love to sit in a local coffee shop and grab a local magazine, right? That's a win-win. But if that magazine, they ring you up and you say, well, no, hold on, I'm selling online globally. This is not relevant to me. Then you can say, no, thanks. That's not where my audience are. Thanks, but no thanks. Right? This is why making these decisions is critical. Is this making sense? Do you have questions on this? Because this is so crucial. The more you write, the easier the marketing is. You can decide where you're going to offer your products and services, how you're going to speak to the audience, etc., etc. Can we use several characteristics instead of being so specific? The more specific you are, the easier the marketing is. Example, landscape painting for young couples. Yes. Just starting a life. Perfect. Yes. Retired couples between 50 and 80. Yes. 50 and 80 is a really big gap. You're going to have different things going on those two. I'd probably narrow it down. Single person who loves nature, that's probably too wide. I would be more specific. Loves Australian nature. Like, just make it a bit more specific. It needs to be specific enough that it's really clear what you do, and you have that Marmite effect. People will just go, I love that. Oh, that's not for me. Hate that. Not for me. Right? Because you need to find your tribe, the people that are going to follow you for what you do. If it's too wide and too vague, it comes down to things like on your phone having your Insta bio, right? It needs to describe what it is that you do. So when someone sees it, they go, oh yeah, you do that. Great. That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to follow you. But if it's too vague, it's like, oh, I'm really sure what you do. So next. Yes, I'm still not sure. My spiritual artworks, Jyoti. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got a whole niche there of people who are totally into the spiritual. You've got all the what we call the woo-woo people. I mean, that's a perfect niche and a perfect audience. All the people that, love all of those sides. And also, do you know what immediately comes to mind, Jyoti? What about all the practitioners who have home offices, places where they work, where they see their clients? Wouldn't they love a piece of your artwork? You see, that's what I would be doing. I know Jyoti and I know her beautiful artwork. I would probably be targeting all the holistic practitioners who work for, not even just work from home. They could even if they're doing Zoom, they could have that painting behind so that people go, wow, that's beautiful. And you could match the painting to what the people offer, etc., etc. That's what I would be doing. I would be going after holistic practitioners because there are thousands of them. All right. And I'd be actually contacting them and saying, hey, this is what I do. I think this could be a really good match for you and your workspace for your customers. Food for thought. What places or people do you recommend to review a business plan? You can always get me to review a business plan. So, the other person you can ask is a friend. A friend can be sometimes too kind. Another artist or somebody. Sometimes I think somebody who doesn't really understand the art world, because if you then say, hey, look at my plan, then they can look at it and go, oh, I understand what you do. That makes sense. Or they can look at it and go, I don't understand what you're trying to achieve here. The other place, if you're looking for funds, you can take it to a bank and you can say, I've got a business plan. Do you have a business advisor who can look over my business plan? So I worked with a couple a few years ago and they wanted to make a loan. We did an initial plan and then they went to the bank and the bank helped them flesh it out a little bit more. So a bank will often look over it. I'm happy to look over it. And yeah, somebody who perhaps doesn't know what you do could be a really good person. Jyoti, great idea. I'll have a go at that for all the new ones. I think that just is an easy route, Jyoti. Again, do you see what I mean? The more specific you are, the easier it is to just go, well, I'm going to just target those people. That's just saving so many hours of putting out social media posts, hoping they're going to reach the right people, right? If you've got a clear niche, by the way, super easy to market. It's those, those people that just have a little bit broader. The broader you are, the harder it is to market. There's just no doubt about that. All right, let's just switch to the next part of that, and that's about email list. So, because Tracy says stuck on ideal client, once you've assessed who your ideal client is, you want to make sure that you have the opportunity for the ideal client to join your community in form of joining your email list. So an email list is the central part of your business. Why? It's the only thing you own, all right? You don't own Facebook, you don't own Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, any of it. So if all you ever do is try and get more followers, if the man that we know so well decides to shut Facebook and Instagram tomorrow, your entire business is gone, all right? So you have got to focus on encouraging people off any of those platforms and onto your own mailing list. The platform I recommend to get started is MailChimp. I have no affiliation with them. You can start for free. I do recommend that you pay though, because you have a lot of the MailChimp branding at the bottom and you have a few more extra things that you can do, but you can definitely start on the free plan. You can set up a really simple list, and then you can set up what we call a landing page. So if you don't have a website, you can set up a really simple page. It's all within the platform where somebody can pop their name and email address. You've all seen it, right? And it links to your list, and you can have that page. You can use the URL of that page and add it to, for example, your Instagram, so that somebody can start joining your mailing list before you have, for example, your own website. So when should you get an email list going? Immediately. Tracy says it wasn't finished before I push send. That's cool. Once getting client to Google them and then Google what sites they're on, post to that site. Oh yeah, how do you find them? Is that the question? Where's the first bit of you? Once you decide your perfect client, then what do you do? Google the people. So no, you're not really Googling the people. So for example, if we profiled somebody who loves landscape, so let's do a quick profile. So young couple in their early 30s, they really love nature. They do a lot of walking, a lot of trekking, a lot of kind of outward bounds. They love art. They like to, I don't know, support. They'd rather support local. They're into environmental sustainability. They'd rather promote. What's what I'm looking for? They would rather support local artists, right? We already know there's some places they're going to be showing up, right? There's some certain, perhaps magazines they might buy, social media accounts they might follow, certain things they might be doing. So if they're into that kind of profile, they're more kind of local, they like to go out, they may not be looking online. So, if you're offline, then you want to think about, well, where are they going? Are they buying magazines? What magazines are they buying? Could I put an ad in those magazines that they're buying? So you want to try and show up where they're showing up. If you've decided they're shopping online, then again, it's down to the person. Are they somebody who was going to like a more local website, a local gallery, or is it someone who's going to be using one of the big kind of, they're going to go looking on Etsy for prints, or they're going to be looking on some of the big art sites for prints. So you've got to think where they might be looking for things. Where are they shopping? Where are they hanging out? So you don't need to start Googling them. That gets too specific. I would also follow accounts that they might follow. So if we go down the kind of nature, follow some, for example, Instagram accounts they might follow, and look out for comments they might be making. You can always click through and look at the type of profile and go, okay, that's interesting. This is what they're interested in. There might even be some hashtags that they're using that you could incorporate with your paintings, specific areas they like walking in, countries they visited, etc., etc. So I wouldn't be Googling, that's kind of too specific, but I would certainly be thinking like that, right? Hopefully that makes it a little bit. I do a deeper dive. I've got a huge training on this, but it's in my membership, where I actually walk a few people through and we do an actual long, real example and we dive really deep into it. So it's more about thinking through your answers to those questions and how can you show up in the places where they're likely looking or already hanging out. That's really the best way to go. Yes. Okay, cool. And then Google what sites they're on. You're having to guess initially. Once you've got some sales, you can always ask them, hey, do you typically buy art from this site? For example, I know a lot of people are using Blue Thumb. Blue Thumb started in Australia. It's now in the States. It's going to be global. But a lot of people would say, somebody's bought something, you might contact and say, hey, do you typically buy from Blue Thumb, or where else do you look? There's all sorts of ways of finding out those questions once you have buyers. Okay. Once you've set up your mailing list, you're going to need to do something to fill it. So just setting it up is not enough. So you're going to do some marketing strategies to drive people to where they can sign up. You might run a simple competition. You might do a local market or art fair where there's loads of people coming through, and you say, hey, win a print, join my mailing list in order to sign up and get a print. You might just do things like run ads or use Pinterest or YouTube or blogging. You need to be actively doing marketing strategies to send people to grow the list. Otherwise, 6 months down the track, you're going, Sophie, I've got 5 people and they're all my family on the list. So sometimes you can start with friends and family, that's okay. But ultimately, you want to be doing something every month to get people to that place. All right, let's move on. Okay, Sharon asks about pricing. That's our next question. Pricing, how to price. She says, I've watched lots of YouTube videos and they're all over the place. All right, so I have a clear 6 steps to pricing, and that YouTube video is on my site. I think after years and years of being in this industry, I personally think it's the best way to price something. Of course, it's up to you. If you watch it and go, that's not for me. I'm not the kind of square inch type of person. So I have a specific, and I will link that. I'm just going to write that down. What have I said? The ICA, because otherwise I'll be like, I promise things. ICA and the 6 steps to pricing. But basically, I go through, so my 6 steps to pricing go like this. You're going to work out base costs of what it costs you roughly to create, say, a canvas, put on a workshop, etc. You're going to assess where you are on your career ladder at the beginning, super advanced, in the middle. You're going to research your competition and find out what they're charging for something similar, so that you have some ballpark amounts. You're then going to work out your maths. Are you going to be selling through a gallery who's going to take 50%? Are you going to be selling yourself and therefore you're going to keep all the profit? And you basically take away your base costs and any kind of selling costs away from that rough number you've got from the competitors. So you end up kind of taking 3 and then getting an average of the 3. You take it away from there and you'll be left with a number. And then that number, I use something called the gut calculator. That's where I look at that number and I go, I'm happy receiving that after losing 50% to a gallery, for example, or giving gallery 50% for beautifully selling my artwork, or I'm not happy. That takes me a long time to do. I don't want to walk away with that amount of money. In which case you need to go back a few steps and you need to eke the price up till you get to the point where your profit is good enough for you. You go like, yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy to get profit like that. And then you end up making a pricing scale. So you start from small to large and you infill and you simply have a scale. It's really simple. So I will link that as well. Now have a clearer vision. Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. Do you put your prices on your website? Absolutely. Otherwise, no one can buy them. 100% clear, transparent. This is the piece. This is a description about the piece. Here are the benefits of the piece. Here's how to buy it, and here's how much it is. And here's how to click and put it in your cart. And this is how long it's going to be before it arrives at your home. Super important, all right? Listings is another whole topic, because most people just put the artwork up and put a title and a price, and there's no incentive for the person to buy it. More on that later. You asked the next question. Best web page developer, so website platform, do you mean? So listen, they're all out there. I think we had a discussion within the membership on this the other day. The consensus was Wix. There are a lot of template-based sites, and a lot of people are building on Wix because it's easy, it's flexible, it's reasonable price, it's a good place to start. So from what a whole collective is saying, I reckon Wix is a good place to start. If you're selling small products and you have lots and lots of them, then you want to use something like Shopify, because it's built as a shop. It's a larger amount going out every month because it has all the facilities. You know, someone can land on there and go, I'll have that artwork on a phone case, on a pencil, on a bag, on a cushion. Oh, I'll buy a couple of prints and some cards, right? They amass a lot of shopping in their cart, and Shopify is designed to do that really well. Or you've got your artwork on a t-shirt. I'll have one in small, medium, large, pink background, green background, right? It's designed for that. Don't lose Shopify if you're just going to sell a few prints. It's a larger amount going out each month. It's probably not the best fit. And then if you like to do it yourself and you like the tech and you want ultimate freedom, then you would choose WordPress. Do not do that if you do not know how to do those sorts of things, or you're not confident online. So WordPress, you'll just pay the hosting wherever you pay the hosting, and you'll set up the WordPress site, and you'll have lots of templates that are free, templates you can buy, and you can pretty much do anything you want. It's the most flexible way However, it's complicated. It's a big learning curve, right? When things go wrong, it's tricky to get them fixed. So if you just want to get something up quickly and easily, I think the consensus is we recommend Wix. Hopefully that helps. How to drive traffic to that web page. Going to answer that in just a moment. That is Kerry's question and your question as well, I know, and several other people's questions. Driving traffic to my website and converting them into sales. I used to be able to do this organically, Kerry says, super easily with Pinterest, but in the last 3 years, Pinterest has completely stopped driving traffic for me. All right, so there's a few different elements to that question that I did want to cover because I'm a massive believer in Pinterest for driving traffic. So number one, Pinterest is still right up there for driving traffic to your website. However, it has completely changed in the last 3 years. So I would say that if that's been working for you, simply really get educated on the changes, how the algorithm works now, the different facilities it has, how to use it now, because it, like all these things, it changes. But if you ask most bloggers, lots of artists who use sites like Etsy and Shopify, most of they're going to say that most of their traffic, that's the people who go and land on that space, they're mostly coming from Pinterest. So do not give up on Pinterest. Just get re-educated on what's working now and go for it again. That would be my number one thing to say. Find out what's not working and fix it. All right. So yes, the other thing I wanted to say here, driving traffic, so sending people to your website and then converting those into sales are two very, very, very different things. And I think there's a myth out there that if I do lots of marketing, I'll make lots of sales. There's marketing and there's sales, two different things, folks. All right. So marketing is about putting out messages and marketing materials. So that could be social media, or it could be blogs, or could be press releases to that audience that you've defined, so that they gain awareness of you, so they find out a bit more, so they decide they want to hear more and they join your mailing list, so they read your emails, right? They're not the unsubscribers, they're the readers of the emails. They start to come to your events, they start to look at the website. That is building your trust and connection with your audience. But that's not sales, all right? That's just marketing. Building awareness, trust, and connection gets them to the point where you are going to make a sales offer. So again, mostly the mistake is that artists are not making an offer. Listings on the website, folks. Over there, you go and buy it. There's no incentive, right? There's thousands of websites for these people to choose from. How are you going to make an offer? This is where your email list comes in. All right, so I'm going to tell the story of the lovely lady who lives in Wales, actually. So when we started working together, she said, oh my goodness me, I get sales over here and sales over here, but I want something a bit more consistent. I said, have you got a mailing list? She said, yes. So I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run a series of emails to that mailing list where you're going to make an offer to people first who've this is a little bit further down the track, so you can aspire to this. People who've already bought from you. So if you've already got customers, you'll be like, great. People who've already bought from you, you're going to give them a 5-day window where you're going to give them 20% off the original pieces. Only for those 5 days with a clear deadline, only current customers. So she was a bit resistant. She's like, not really sure. But we did it. We made a series of emails talking about the artwork, talking about the collection, just building out excitement and anticipation. Something was coming. And then only to that segment for those few days, she made that offer and she sold 18 paintings in those 5 days. Why? Specific audience, very clear message, and an offer. Here's the 20% off because you've already bought, only for those 5 days. And at that point, then she opened up the collection to other people. All right. So using your email list, and you might say, Sophie, I've got 5 people and they're all my friends and family. You want to build the email list so that down the track, you can be saying, okay, I've got something coming up. It's Easter. I'm going to give you a discount code. Or if you buy an original piece from my studio over the next 3 days, I'm going to ship it to you for nothing. Or if you buy 2 of my prints from my online store, I'm going to give you a third for free, but only for 48 hours, only from my new collection. All right, because you're a valued customer and you stayed on the list, etc., etc. So you have to make sales offers. You're not always discounting, because I'm not a lover of discounting unless we're being very strategic with it and you've built it into your pricing, right? So those are two very different things. You need to bear that in mind. How are we going to drive traffic to the website? Paid for ads like Google, it's a really good source of traffic if you've got a marketing budget. Pinterest, definitely. Things like blogging, bit of a slower build, but when you publish a blog, really good to also use Pinterest along with the blogging. That's, again, it's really good for your site to have new content on it. Then you can let people know via your email list to have a new blog, sends them to the site. You can do a joint venture with somebody else, right, who's offering something similar to what you offer. So perhaps you could tee up even with a local art store and say, I've got a new collection. I'm using your materials. I'd love to, get a few more eyes on my new collection. I've got a sales offer coming up. They might say, do you know what? Because you shop from our shop and you buy these materials, we're going to send an email out on our list to let our shoppers know that you've used the materials and here's your artwork, right? That can work really, really well. It can also work well for you if you run workshops and you send them back to the art store. Another whole strategy. All right, obviously social media is another way, not the only way, right, to send people to your website. So you need to be actively marketing. Every week you need to be doing consistent marketing. I like to have a simple marketing routine where we just do things consistently. And going back to that very beginning question, when do you give up, right? You don't give up. You just keep being consistent. Keep being consistent. Okay, hopefully that's answering that. I'm aware that we're already hitting the hour and I have so much to say. I think this was the last question I wanted to do. Oh, this was the juicy question, so hang in here for this. All right. So Marina says, trying to figure out whether to stick with my current style/subject that I'm still loving, but I've only sold one of in over a year, or develop a new style subject that might be more appealing. And you know what? My heart just went out to you there and everyone else who feels the same. I can't work out if people don't like my current work or if I just need to promote it more and to a different audience. So Marina and everyone else who has the same question, because it's been asked such a lot, before you throw the baby out with that bathwater, there are a few key reasons why your artwork is not selling. 3 that I like to think of immediately. Number 1, not knowing the specific audience. I think we've probably talked a lot about that today, not knowing who that audience are, so defining that audience. Number 2, not doing enough marketing to that specific audience. I imagine that everybody on this call today can work on those 2 things for sure. And then not making a clear sales offer to that audience once you've kind of warmed them up and got to know them. I promise you, if you do those 3 things, you will make consistent sales. Now, here's the piece. Please, please, please do not change what you're loving doing. The only reason you change is if you're not enjoying it anymore, all right? You need to build a business around what you love doing, because what you love doing lights you up. You get in creative flow. All you need to do is find that audience, find that match, the audience that loves what you do. All right. And then you need to encourage them onto that mailing list, send them weekly emails with what you're doing, what's in the studio, what's happening, latest updates, gone up onto the shop, whatever it is that you're doing. And then you need to make them a really clear offer. Over Easter, you can buy this and get this. All right. Really simple. That's as simple. And somebody asked for a blueprint. And I was like, okay, a blueprint. I suppose that's kind of a blueprint, isn't it? In a way, define your audience, right? Create a mailing list, create a series of simple strategies to get people onto that mailing list, communicate with them regularly, build trust. You're not selling on every email, by the way. That's the other thing. I should just throw that in. You want to be sending weekly emails, letting them know what you're doing, studio updates. I went at walking the other day and took these amazing photographs, turned these into floral prints. They'll be coming soon. But at the moment, I'm working on them. Here's something that happened today, whatever it is for you and your art business. And then at specific times in the year, you make specific sales offers. And that's when you make the sales, right? All right, so that's what you want to do. So there's plenty of people out there who buy art, plenty of people who buy all the different sorts of art that you offer. You've just got to get clear on who are the right people for you, who is your tribe, and then you want to get your work in front of that tribe in the sort of ways that we've mentioned today. So do what you love. Don't forget to improve at what you're doing. It's really important. I think, somebody said about watching and getting all the free trainings and all of that, and, they're all seeding for something else. It's kind of how these businesses work, but there's a reason behind it. When you invest in yourself and your education, then you really get the learning that you need. There's a lot of free information out there. I give a lot of free information. Other people give a lot of free information. But at the end of the day, if you want a step-by-step path to doing something, we want to encourage you to join a smaller group of people who are committed to doing that, right? And then investing in yourself is the best investment you can make. Whether that's taking an art course to improve your art skills so your artwork gets better and better and better, or whether that's taking a business course so that you can shortcut all the time and money that you're likely wasting and get straight to taking those step-by-step path that you need in order to get where you want to go. So hopefully that kind of answers some of those questions. Over the years, I've invested a lot of money and I don't regret any of it. I've learned something from all of it. And remember when I said at the beginning, I want you to take away one key thing that you can put into action from this call, because I've given you a lot of information. I'm going to put links to other videos that you can watch where you can gain more information. I'm pretty open over on YouTube. I give you lots of 6 steps to do this and how to do this and how to do that. Of course, if you want the real detail and you want the accountability and you want all those things, in a minute, with your permission, I'm just going to go over my membership a little bit. Some of you might be interested in that. Some of you might not. But like I said at the beginning, it's important you showed up here today and you shared this time with our fellow artists and myself. And I'm very grateful for you for having done that. Thank you so much. Make sure that you walk away with something that you can action. So I want you to look through your notes if you've been scribbling and scribbling and think, what's one thing that I could put into action now going forwards? Rather than, oh my God, I've got so many notes from Sophie. Just think, what was the biggest challenge for me? Was it the email list? I'm going to do the email list. It's a good thing to action, by the way, if you haven't got one. That's the thing I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on the email list. That's what I'm going to put into action. So I would love everyone to do that. And I'd love you to share your commitment in the comments below. What is the thing that you're going to commit to doing going forwards from this video? And if you're watching the replay, whenever you're watching the replay, add to it as well. Just let us know below the video, if you're watching the replay, what it is you're committed to doing, because you're not just committing to me, committing to the other people on this call, but you're committing to yourself. I'm committing to myself and my art business to do this specific thing next, rather than a million things that Sophie's just talked about. All right. I'd love to do these regular Q&As. I think it's something I'd like to start offering now on YouTube. I might make them a bit shorter, but more regular. I think that could be a lot of fun because I get asked a lot of questions all the time. So if I might, I'm just going to take 5 minutes to talk a little bit about my membership, because some people might be interested in joining that if you want the deeper dive and the step-by-step path. So my membership's called the Art Business Academy. And what it offers a couple of things. So number one, it offers monthly routine. So every month there is a new business training, art business training. So this month, I think we've got how to show up and do a video, so how to show up on live video. Next month, for example, it's going to be a complete online course training. So how to completely make your online course. It's a big training, but we've got all trainings like that, business trainings. And every month we have a live Q&A where I specifically help you with your business issues inside our private Facebook group. And then every month we also have live Zoom calls where I coach you and work with you in that kind of coaching capacity. We review the month before. How's it gone? What have you learned? What were your wins? What can you take forward? People share, what can we do? And then we look at planning the next month. What are you going to focus on? And then I help people focus on the right things. We look at the path, where are you, etc., etc. So we have that time together. And then there's the part of the membership where it's kind of in the back, is a sort of back end part where you can watch all the back trainings, all the back Q&As, all the back coaching. And if you really want to immerse yourself, if you say I'm struggling with marketing, you'd go to the marketing section and watch some of the marketing trainings. If you are struggling with that email list, you'll look for that email list training. And then underneath all of that sits our Art Biz Success path. And that is the step-by-step how to build your art business from zero to full art business that you can fully pull a full income from, and all the steps in between. There's a PDF download and there are lots of tiny videos so that all you do is you work out, hey, I'm at stage 0. I'm at stage 1. You watch the little tiny videos and you take the action on that step that you are on, and you just focus on that. So, when you think, Joseph, I don't know, should I be building a website right now? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? You simply look at the path and you say, I'm at stage 1. I'm at building my business plan. I'm just going to build the business plan. I'm going to do this, do everything else. Even if Sophie's got a live over there, I'm going to ignore that. I'm just going to follow her step by step. I'm going to get my business plan. Then I'm going to do the next thing and then the next thing. And once you've got going, you can look over and go, oh, I've got a question for the Q&A. I'm going to post my question. I'd really like to connect with other artists and get some coaching. I'm going to come on the group coaching call. It's available 24/7. It's just for 32 Australian dollars per month, which is about half in British pounds. And it's actually pretty good in American dollars right now. I think the exchange rate's in your favor. So it's a really small investment. There's no contract. You can join today. And if you don't like it, you can go, I'm canceling this and I'm out. So you have access to all of it. There's a little welcome video that kind of walks you around where everything is. So you can watch the back things. You can look at this month. There's a Monday email that reminds you what's happening, that sort of stuff. I've got the link, actually. I think I've got the link here. No, I haven't got the link there. All right, I'll put the link. I thought I'd got it already on my mouse, but I haven't. I'll pop the link to that. Actually, I have it just here. I have it. I'm more organized than I thought I was. If you want to check out the page with all the information on it, you can save a couple of months by joining on the annual membership as well, if you like. And you know what? If you don't want to join my membership, that's okay too. If you want to keep showing up on YouTube and in the Facebook group, I love that as well. Let's keep in touch. Let me know what you've committed to. Because for me, it's about action, right? We can sit on these calls. You can join the membership. You can watch the information, any of it. But the important part is when you take action, when you actually do what you said you're going to do and you do it consistently, that's when you're going to start getting the results. So I hope you've enjoyed today's call. Apologies, it's gone a few minutes over. I'm going to send a newsletter to my email list. Yes, go Jyoti, fantastic. Thank you. And I've been watching for years. Oh, thank you, probably a year. Thank you. I started subscribing, but I learned so much. Oh, thank you so much. I want to thank you. That's bless you. Thank you so much, Tracy. And my commitment is going to go forwards working on my ideal clients. Great commitment. When I get them figured out, I'm committed to building my email list. Perfect. I need to work on my audience. Yeah, absolutely. Ideal customer and email list. One thing at a time. Absolutely. Audience and ideal customer kind of linked together. Do that first. And I will post the download for you guys to grab as well. Currently working on art business plan of yours. Awesome. Great. Yeah, I've got all these things on YouTube. You can go and grab them. So, and those people I think you've joined the course actually. Awesome. Brilliant. I've got a course as well on business planning if you want to take that as well. But that's great. Thank you so much for watching in both places. Hello to shout out to my YouTube followers and shout out to the Business for Artists group. I love you both. Let's keep being creative together. And if you've got questions or you want feedback, just use the group, post below this video, whatever you need, stay in touch. And I'll look forward to doing another one of these probably next month. I think I'm going to do them every month, probably not as long as this, a little bit shorter. So keep asking your questions and I'll pick the juicy ones and we'll work our way through them together. All right, take care. Oh, what's we got? Focusing on Pinterest. Yes, perfect. I love it. Keep posting them. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you've got any questions about the membership, you can shoot those to me any which way you like on any of these platforms. And I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.